everyone, I'm NornQueenAlexis and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to this 9th edition rules explain thing. We're going through the rulebook, okay? We have the 9th edition core rulebook in front of us. We are up to the charge phase and we are going to read through to see if some of the things changed from 8th edition to 9th edition. So when it comes to charge phase, I am going to skim through this pretty quickly because we pretty much understand how charge phase works. But for you new players out there, I will be giving an explanation for a lot of these things. So let's dive right into it. And we do have to talk about one change right off the bat, which is charge phase and now heroic interventions are actually different. I'm making up words. You know, I should write for 40K. This is my lavatorium. Anyway, heroic intervention is actually done at a different step in the fight phase, not the fight phase, the charge phase. So we're going to try to get through the charge phase as well as possibly the fight phase, but let's see if we can get there. Charge phase. Select the unit from your army to charge with. I picked this one. Okay then. Choose charge with that unit, see below. Select another unit from your army to charge with. Once you have charged, once all your units have charged, progress to the heroic intervention step on page 225. Okay, pretty simple. Pretty simple. So we move on to the next bullet points. Declare the target of charge. So if my Hive Tyrant, let's just say my happy little Carnifex is going to go ahead and charge this happy little Hive Guard. We have to measure the distance between the two models, and in this case, let's say it's 9 inches. You choose this model to charge with, you pick the target, then you roll 2d6. Let's say in this case we actually do make the charge and we've rolled an 11, which would mean we pick up this model and we move it into base contact, or at least as close as we can to base contact with the model itself. Now when you do charge, you do have to move towards the charge target itself, but you can pile into it even closer in case you don't make it, or you're within 1 inch of it and you want to just get up to its base itself. So you want to go here, make sure you're closer to it. Or say you wanted to make a charge against multiple units. So we have 2 Hive Guard units being assaulted by, let's go with my Stone Crusher Carnifex because he looks cooler. So in this case, we have to declare the charges and we want him to attack both of them. Actually, let's say it's a unit of Carnifexes. That way we can actually get to both targets. But we declare that we want to charge both of these different units in this case. So we roll our target and say we needed a 7 to make it to both, but we roll a 6, which only gets us to one of them. We actually fail this charge, and that's one of the biggest changes of from 8th edition to 9th edition. But let's say we make the charge, we roll an 11 because we're phenomenal at rolling dice. We would then try to move so that we are within unit coherency, because you do have to maintain unit coherency, and within 1 inch of both enemy models, or enemy units. So now that we have a basic understanding of that I wung and probably confused the hell out of everybody with my poor explanation, we'll actually read what it really says. Declare targets for the charge must be within 12 inches. If a target is more than 12 inches away, you automatically fail and you cannot declare the charge in any way, shape, or form. Charge roll is 2d6. So we roll 2d6 and then the model itself moves that far so long as it can end its movement within engagement range of the target unit. If it cannot, it does not move at all. If insufficient to move charging unit into engagement range of the targets, in this case 2, or target, the charge fails. If the charge is successful, they actually wrote this wrong. They said if charge successful. It should be if the charge is successful. Models make their charge move. Cannot make a charge move within engagement range of any unit that you did not declare as part of the charge. Now, that being said, you can consolidate into them. Heroic interventions. Select one character to perform a heroic intervention. Cannot perform a heroic intervention if your if any enemy units are within engagement range, must be an enemy unit within 3 inches horizontal or 5 inches vertical to perform a heroic intervention. Select another character to perform a heroic intervention. Once all your character's units have performed heroic interventions, proceed to the fight phase on page 228. So, let me give you an example of that. Our Carnifex, right here, he wants to charge this Hive Guard, but this Hive Guard has a buddy, and it's this Hive Tyrant. Now, I am going to balance most of these metal models, actually just one metal model, on my book. So I declare the charge, and I've made the charge because we've gone over how charge works. But this puts me within 3 inches horizontal, or in case I was on top of them, vertical, within the Hive Tyrant's 3 inches for its heroic intervention. At the end of the fight, at the end of the charges and everything that have all been declared, I then go into the heroic intervention phase and I choose my Hive Tyrant to go into the Carnifex to attack it. Now I am conveniently picking Tyranids because they just so happen to be sitting here, so this might be confusing for some people, and I do apologize about my bad explanations. Performing a heroic intervention. Heroic, move the model up to 3 inches, must end its movement closer to an enemy model. Now, also keep in mind that it doesn't actually have to be an enemy unit that charged. It can just be if an enemy unit just so happens to be within 3 inches of a character, you can actually perform a heroic intervention even if that unit did not charge in any way this turn. Let's say they piled in last turn and just so happened to end up 3 inches closer to you, you can perform a heroic intervention, get in there, and beat the hell out of it. Charging over terrain. Models can move freely over terrain that is less than 1 inch in height. Now, we did talk about some of the terrain rules earlier in the series, so be sure to check out those, but we will be doing a terrain special series in just a few minutes. Models cannot move through taller terrain features, but can climb up and down them. So when it comes to moving through terrain, what you do now is you actually measure to walk over it. Walk up, walk over, and walk down, and then walk over to the target itself. Depending on the terrain feature itself, they might have additional rules. So if a Hive Tyrant wishes to charge something, I don't have a piece of terrain here to give a proper demonstration, but the Carnifex, say we rolled a 10 and we're trying to get to our Hive Guard buddy, we would have to go up a 3 inch, let's just say there's a 3 inch wall right here. We would have to go up 3 inches, over a centimeter, and down 3 inches, so that's 6 inches of his charge, and then he only makes it 7, so he doesn't make the charge. But let's say we rolled an 11, that's 3, 6, and then the few inches over to make it into the charge. Okay. Flyers when charging. Fly models can move over other models when they make their charge move. Fly models can move over terrain, including buildings, like any other model when they make a charge move. So terrain doesn't stop them, and they instead just fly directly over it. There are certain pieces of terrain that do stop them. I think it has to be taller than 5 inches in order to stop them from going over it, but I could be wrong about that, so be sure to reference the terrain video for all of that, because I'm not really skipping ahead to figure all of that out. So if I do get that wrong, please comment in the comment section down below and tell me that I am wrong, and be sure to do it in a polite fashion. Overwatch. Before charging rules are made, all charged targets can fire Overwatch. That can fire Overwatch do so. Keep in mind, Overwatch is now a stratagem. Can never fire Overwatch while enemy units are within engagement range. When firing Overwatch, shots are shoot with the unit, but it only hits on an unmodified sixes. So it can never hit on a 5+ unless you have special rules on your datasheet that allow you to, or you have defensible terrain, which gives you the ability to Overwatch on a 5+. Then we move on to fight phase. Fight phase. Fight phase. We don't talk about fight phase. Why? Because you're not allowed to. It's part of the Fight Club. Okay, I'll stop. I think that just dated me. Damn. Start with your opponent. Starting with your opponent, alternate selecting units to fight with. When a unit fights, it piles in, then makes its close combat attacks, then it consolidates. So, to give you an example of that, we have our buddies. Now, let's move this up. We've already made the charge move. We've already done heroic interventions. So, this guy is going to fight this target. So he's going to pile in first, which is up to 3 inches. Then he's going to pivot and make his attacks against this unit. And let's just say for S's and G's that he destroys that unit. He can then consolidate, or she or they, in this case she, can then consolidate 3 inches towards the nearest enemy unit. Okay, when you do pile in, you do have to move 3 inches towards the nearest enemy unit, which is more than likely the one you're engaged with. Okay, if one player has more units left to fight with, their opponent then fights with their remaining units one at a time. Okay, so if I charged with 3 units but 5 units are locked in combat, my opponent does his 2 other attacks with his units. So if you have multi-charges and things like that going on. Once all have fought, progress to the morale phase on page 232. Okay, charging units fight first. Units that made charge moves this turn fight before all other units. Done, there you go. There will be an exception for Slaanesh in just a little bit. Fight, pile in. So, pile in is move up to 3 inches, must end closer to the enemy model. Making close combat attacks and which models can fight. Let's just see if this changed at all. When a unit makes close combat attacks, only a model that is in either engagement range of an enemy unit or that is within half an inch of another model within from that unit that it itself is within half an inch of an enemy unit can fight. So no longer do you get the full inch off of your models engaged in close combat. So you'll never get full 4 ranks of combat from 25 mil bases. Now you are only ever going to get 2 ranks into combat. So keep that in mind when you make your pile-in moves. That's really different from 8th edition. Models can fight in engagement range. Models can fight if it is engagement range of an enemy unit. Models can fight if it is within half an inch of another model in their own unit that is within half an inch of an enemy unit. So it actually looks more like only 1 rank can fight, which I kind of like, to be honest. This edition is making it seem more and more like you want to use movement trays. Number of attacks. Number of attacks made by each models that can fight is equal to its A, or attacks under its character profile. Selecting a target. If the attack unit made a charge move this turn, its model can only target the units that it declared a charge against this turn, or units that performed a heroic intervention this turn. That's really big, because it used to be that you couldn't actually target the thing that you made the heroic intervention, and you just had to sit there and take it. Now your opponent has to think whether or not they want to send that character in, and if they do, you can actually change all of your targets to that character and kill it. Select targets for all the attacks before any attacks are resolved. So you do have to pick and choose which weapons each model is using. If they have multiple weapons, you declare how they're using them with the number of attacks that they have, such as this Carnifex right here, which has Crushing Claws and Scything Talons and multiple attacks. So we'd put 2 into its Scything Talons and 2 into its Crushing Claws, and that's how it would make its attacks. We choose them against the targets that we want. Let's just say that we've charged 2 different targets. So we charged this Hive Guard, and we charged my friendly little hentai monster. In this case, I would choose the Scything Talons against the Hive Guard, which there's a piece of hair on, and then I would choose the Crushing Claws against my little tentacle monster. Okay. If a unit attacks with multiple weapons, all attacks are made with the weapons that have the same profile must be resolved before resolving attacks with the next weapon. See, pretty simple. So I'd choose the sights to go first, and then I would choose the crushing claws to go second. Consolidate. Move up to 3 inches. Must end the movement closer to an enemy model. Pretty simple. And actually, that is it. So the charge phase has not really changed too much, which I actually like, and they clarified a lot of things that weren't in 8th edition. The biggest change being that if a model piles in using Heroic Intervention, you can punch the ever-living crap out of it, and I absolutely love that because I was kind of sick of characters just going like this, haha, free 6-inch Heroic Intervention, punch your guy, and you Elysium, Alexis, and I'm sitting there like, well, golly gee willikers, that kind of sucked. But now it's, haha, I move up to 6 inches. I expected you to do that, and you just activated my trap card. A costly mistake, Kaiba boy. And you just absolutely crushed them. So I love how this is happening. So some other minor changes to 9th edition from 8th edition, which is going to make this edition excellent. And I personally cannot wait to start playing some games with it. So with that all said, I want to know your thoughts, comments in the comment section down below. Also subscribe to this video and hit that stupid like button, because YouTube will share my video if you hit that like button. And come on, Pete. Anyway, if you're super awesome, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Also, while you're down there, you can check out all the links in the description down below. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm getting good at that, by the way. And you can also follow me on Patreon. This channel is only possible thanks to its patrons. And you guys really make this happen, because otherwise I would have to get a blue-collar job and I would hate my life. And I don't want to do that. I have no personality for blue-collar work at all. I would be terrible and fired within days. If you enjoyed this video, please check out all the others on the channel. As always, I'm NornQueenAlexis.